What's up, guys? Welcome back to The Right Side. Today, I want to talk about the future of the Republican Party. The left has radicalized over the course of 15 to 20 years. They have made this slippery slope fallacy into a historical fact. Although the right has not seen drastic shifts in policy as the left has, the right's subtle shifts underneath the surface in their attitudes on social issues will lead to the party either fracturing and splitting in two, or the birth of a new conservative right-wing party altogether. Let's be honest, although the American right is the most conservative right-wing party in the West, even Republicans are slowly being pulled toward the center socially. Last time you heard mainstream politicians oppose a policy as basically conservative as gay marriage probably wasn't Republican, but Obama or Biden. The right, now, doesn't seem to care about defending the fundamental bedrock of human civilization, marriage, as being what it is, between a man and a woman. The Republican Party's cowardice on social issues is what's enabling this slow bleed of a death. Why is it considered base to oppose sterilizing minors? Because that is the low-hanging fruit of social issues the right proudly plants their flag on. This isn't to say that opposing gender surgeries on minors is wrong, but if that's the bar for what is based, then the bar is 6 feet underground. Now, I'm not getting this feeling out of thin air. Honestly, I think the left could fracture and split before the right does, thanks to progressives. In fact, progressives and MAGA types are a lot more similar than they may care to admit. Both factions will have the same effect on their party, albeit in different manifestations. However, as obvious as the polarity in the Democratic Party is between moderates and progressives, which would lead to a divorce, as someone on the right, I don't think the polarity on the right is as obvious and clear. I can already hear people mentioning that the establishment split on the right is currently already visible in the public consciousness. I wouldn't argue against this and don't think it's wrong. However, what I want to delve into in this video is that the current split on the right is window dressing and not permanent. In fact, as someone on the right, I can admit that the populist movement on the right is temporary, inherently. See, populism is driven by representing the interests of the common man against an establishment elite. This is all great. I don't like the establishment elite as much as the next populist conservative, don't get me wrong, but the current split on the right between establishment Republicans and populists won't be a lasting war. Not because the populist MAGA movement loses, but instead because the populist movement will fade away and dissolve on its own. Here is how I view the situation. Imagine you are a flipper and bought a house with mold, rotten floors, and inconvenient walls. To begin fixing the house, you start ripping out the unusable existing parts and taking a sledgehammer to the walls and cabinets. Before you know it, demolition day is over and now you have a blank canvas to bring your vision to life. To me, the house resembles the country, and the mold, rotten floors, and inconvenient walls represent corrupt government rot and bureaucracy that is slowly destroying the country from inside. The sledgehammer and demolition of what needs to be removed and gotten rid of represents populism. It's a tool for destroying an establishment elite class, but not a paintbrush that reinvents the canvas. Populism isn't a standalone ideology like conservatism or libertarianism is. Populism is a tool, like a fire extinguisher behind the emergency casing. You don't install new countertops or flooring with the sledgehammer. You use the sledgehammer to clear the way for new construction. Just like you don't govern with populism. You gut the bureaucracy and disempower the establishment elite. The question that populism doesn't answer is what comes after the demolition. There's a reason why populism exists on both the left and the right. Populism on the left aims to gut the capitalist big business establishment, holding back and putting down the average worker and consumer. Populism on the right aims to gut the fourth branch of the federal government deep state establishment, holding back and putting down the average American. Populism has to fade into the background. It embodies you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. What I feel and envision for the future is a power struggle on the right in the aftermath of MAGA. The balance of power will revolve around social and cultural politics. Culturally, MAGA, the populist right, is nationalist, which is great. I'm a nationalist. The vacuum of the populist right is social conservatism. Socially, the populist right is very libertarian in its support for recreational marijuana, gay marriage, apathy for gender ideology, and a general live and let live attitude. The reality of politics is that most people are radicalized through lived experiences. I can attest to this. Going to college, I was a right of center moderate. I had always heard throughout high school from conservative commentators and pundits about how indoctrinated and corrupt modern universities were, but opted to brush them off as crazy radicals. That is until I got to college and quickly realized not that they were correct, but that they were probably understating the leftist rot that is infested in every major and every class. My experience with the modern university system radicalized me. I have never seen the world the same since. If you want to hear more about my experience and thoughts about modern university, you can watch my video on it in the description. I believe that Gen Z, like Gen X, will be radicalized soon if they aren't already. Gen X was radicalized by the boomers' fiscal and social irresponsibility. A large chunk of MAGA size comes from Gen X. But Gen X is very libertarian on most social issues. They are the live and let live generation. What I expect to radicalize Gen Z is the rampant social and cultural decay and degeneracy enabled by Gen X and fueled by millennials. Look at the widespread acceptance of dating apps that serve as one-night stand machines, and the very heavy emphasis on individualism from the millennials infecting social media, causing platforms like Instagram to be a place to one-up each other on how nice your fake life can be. The strong right-wing revolt from Gen Z will be born from the ashes of a society and culture that throws away masculinity, marriage, and family in favor of selfish individualism, materialism, and degenerate hedonism. This polarity on attitudes surrounding social and cultural behaviors and issues is what I believe will be the true fracturing of the Republican Party and could lead to the birth of a new conservative party. Another vital influence on Gen Z and the future of the Republican Party is the imminent U.S. default on the national debt. I've said this before in my national debt video in the description below, but the national debt is the ultimate representation of the fiscal irresponsibility of the left and the cowardice of the right over the decades, which will be dumped right onto the heads of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. The can that the boomers and some Gen X have kicked down the road in the interest of not having the fiscal hot potato in their laps will catch up to us and explode, leading to the radicalization of Gen Z with fiscal conservatism and the frustrations of young men in terms of loneliness and deaths of despair that already exist will fuel their social conservatism. Gen Z will also be the first generation of voters and adults who have seen most of them raised with screens, and the degeneracy of social media as children and teenagers. Quite frankly, the right doesn't have to play any offense to rally Gen Z to our side. The left is already doing the work for us. The next series of election cycles is going to be about the libertarian, socially apathetic old guard versus the socially conservative youth. Another advantage to consider is that the right will be a cycle or two ahead of the left in terms of party revolution. Since MAGA took over the Republican Party and is going to execute the agenda to neuter the deep state, the right's populist phase is going to come and go before the left's phase will. This gives the right a crucial time advantage to get their ducks in a row for the next generation of party politics when the left still has to go through their own civil war. When this time comes, it is beyond important for the right to capitalize on the left's disarray, capture the culture, and secure a conservative future. In the end, the current establishment versus populist divide in the Republican Party is a superficial fissure that will die out soon. The real civil war will ignite over who fills the power vacuum on the right when MAGA takes a sledgehammer to the deep state and clears the way for a political renovation. The future isn't about establishment versus anti-establishment. It's about old school libertarianism versus new wave Gen Z social conservatism. The societal and cultural degeneracy, courtesy of millennials and enabled by Gen X, coupled with the fiscal irresponsibility of the boomers and cowardice of Republicans to tighten the belt in the following decades, leading to an inevitable national debt default, will radicalize Gen Z on social and fiscal politics. Luckily, because MAGA took over the Republican Party before the Bernie Sanders populism took over the Democrat Party, the right is going to have their revolution before the left does. This leaves the right a couple of cycles ahead of the left to get their things in order and secure a conservative culture and future. MAGA brought out the sledgehammer and demolished the existing structure of corruption. The only question is, who will fill the vacuum? I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. If you'd like to support and help the channel grow, please subscribe or ring the bell so you're updated with all my uploads. Finally, whether you agree or disagree, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I look forward to engaging with you guys in respectful and thoughtful discussions. With that said, I'll see you guys next video. See ya.